Hey, it's me, Seth. I'm so excited to be opening up the cart for this course. That's right. That means I'm taking registrations for this course starting right now. And I'm offering some big bonuses with this launch for the next week, maybe less, depending on how this goes, how many people sign up, and how quickly. Now, remember something I said to you in the very beginning, if you watch the videos that I sent out prior to this, which is that there is a tremendous opportunity here for accountants and bookkeepers who want to serve the e-commerce niche. Why is that? Well, it's based on the story I've shared with you about my friend Mendel and the research that I did in looking to find him somebody who had experience with e-commerce. And as you may recall, if you caught the video, if you didn't, I'll recap it for you here. I quickly found out that everybody that I knew of who was known for being an e-commerce accountant was up to their eyeballs, and they all told me the same thing in so many words, which is I can't take on any more clients. I would love to, but I just don't have the bandwidth. So bottom line, Economics 101, supply and demand. There's a huge demand for accountants and bookkeepers who can do e-commerce accounting and do it well, and a very short supply. As Mendel experienced, and the reason he pushed me so hard to get into e-commerce accounting was because he had been through, I originally thought like 4 recently in the interview that I did with him. It was a lot more than that. And he said some of them were actually very experienced, like people he paid good money for, and they still couldn't get the e-commerce accounting right because they just didn't understand e-commerce. Well, as you know, this was years ago. I dove in and got into the trenches with him, rolled up my sleeves, and I figured out and cracked the code on how to get bulletproof books for an e-commerce company. And that's what you're going to learn about in this course. Now, again, if you can master e-commerce accounting, you will have an opportunity to serve in a niche that is underserved, which means you can charge a big premium for those services. And the clients will be happy to pay it because if their experience is anything like Mendel's was when he met me, and it probably is, they're going to appreciate that it's not easy. This is not easy. I said it earlier. It's not that it's rocket science or difficult to figure out, but it does take some work. It's extra work to do it, and especially if you're concerned with doing it right, doing it the bulletproof way. Which means that you'll be able to put together a set of books that will hold up under any kind of scrutiny. That's powerful, and that's valuable. Now that that's out of the way, here's what I can promise you. There is not a single other resource out there like the one I am right now launching. And the reason I know that is because I did my research. I looked around, I looked at other courses, and then what further validated my research was the feedback I've already gotten from a lot of you, where you've told me that mostly what's out there, if you look around, is a course on Amazon, a course on Shopify, courses that are very narrow and specific and not that deep. Right? So this is the only resource that I know of, and that a lot of my friends, a lot of you who've reached out to me know of, that's going to be a complete resource. This is an accounting course. It's not a course on how to use apps. Of course, we'll get to the part where you learn how to use the apps to streamline the process. But in order to be able to use those apps to good effect, you have to understand the accounting fundamentals. You have to understand the e-commerce accounting workflow. You have to understand how the money moves from a sales channel to a payment method, ultimately into the bank account. And you definitely need to understand the inventory workflow, because if you're in the e-commerce business, then inventory has to come up like right away. And then there's the community where I promise I'm going to be very active, probably as active as I am in the 97 and up Slack workspace. Why is that? Because e-commerce is so big already, and it's only getting bigger. Everything you see, if you look around you in the markets and the news, is about e-commerce. Every business out there, even the service business, even my own accounting business, is an e-commerce business. Everything is sold online. When a client comes and signs up for us to do the accounting for them, they're going to go on my website and make a payment through the website, and it sets up a subscription, right? So every kind of business, service businesses, product businesses, everything is going to be an e-commerce company if it isn't already within the next 5 to 10 years. Moreover, you have very fast-paced markets here, very, very constant innovations, and if you follow the markets, you'll see how neck and neck it is. Amazon and Shopify competing with each other for the merchants, and in reality, there's plenty of room for both and use cases for both. But this is the environment that we're talking about. So I've already included a channel in the community for news and markets where, as I learn and research things and find out what's going on and what the latest innovations are, I'm going to make you aware right away in that channel in the community. community. So I do plan on nourishing this resource on a constant, maybe even daily basis. And yes, I will definitely be adding content as time goes on, as new tools emerge. That's the beauty of this kind of platform. You know, if I were to write a book, it would be hard. By the time I got an updated version of the book out and published, it would probably be out of date already, especially in the e-commerce world. So the beauty of a platform like this one is that if a new tool comes out, and I think it's important and relevant for you to understand what it is and how to use it, you better believe I'm going to record a video and add it into the course and send an email out letting everybody know that I've added a new lesson into the course. So this is going to be growing, ongoing, living, breathing. It won't stop. It's not like I'm just going to publish the course and say, okay, you're on your own, right? I'm going to keep building and growing and nurturing this resource. Now, I didn't want to get into e-commerce accounting. As you've heard, if you listen to the story that Mendel and I shared, I was reluctant. You know, he came to me and he said he'd seen my videos on YouTube, and even though I didn't have the e-commerce experience based on my videos, he was convinced that I was the guy, that if there was anybody who could learn it, it would be me. And I pushed back and I said, it's not my forte. You know, there's people who specialize in this, and I'm not one of them. So I went and became one of them because he kept pushing, and as I've explained to you already, you know, he had been through several bookkeepers and accountants, and as I've also already mentioned, some of them were very, very experienced. They just weren't experienced at e-commerce. And then I got busy. I put a couple of videos out there about e-commerce accounting, in particular, one that I recorded for my friends at Intuit on their Firm of the Future blog. Got a lot of attention, and it frankly got me a lot of clients. So it's how my friend Megan at SwiftPause found me, as you've also heard from her story about working with me in her e-commerce business. So as I did that, I got very, very busy. And people have been asking me for a few years now, hey, are you going to do a course on e-commerce accounting? And, you know, I've said yes, I know I need to do it, but I was just so busy that I hadn't gotten around to it. And finally, I just said, you know what, I just have to do it. It's that important. There's that many people who need this, and especially who need a complete resource, not just a drill down on a single app, but a complete accounting for e-commerce resource, which again is what I'm providing you with here. Now, you're probably wondering exactly what's included. As of this recording, I'm actually still producing videos for the course, but it's coming together very nicely. Let me walk you through the outline of the course on my screen. I'll show you lesson by lesson, section by section. Understand that some of this will change. Some of this in the past week has changed. I've rearranged things and put them in a different order because I felt it was better that way. But this will give you at least as much as what you're going to get access to. If anything, I'll probably add to it as time goes on. Let's take a look at my screen and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you can see here you've got a bit of a sneak preview of the course layout itself. So here's the setup lessons, and it's nicely broken up into sections, and obviously each of these are the lessons with the video. But let's dive into the outline here, which I've got organized here in Notion. Okay, so the first section, as you just saw a second ago, is the setup section. So we're going to give you a little bit of a welcome, get you introduced, get your feet wet with what e-commerce accounting is really all about. I talked about the e-commerce accounting workflow in the mini course that you might have just gone through, but obviously here I'm going to go much deeper on it and actually give you some real demonstrations of what this looks like when you're actually in a QuickBooks Online company. Then we're going to talk about something that's really important, especially for an e-commerce business. We're going to talk about accrual accounting and why it's really important that you do your books or set up your books rather on an accrual basis. There are a lot of accountants and enrolled agents who do taxes out there who will tell you, oh, you're a cash basis tax filer, so your books need to be cash basis. They couldn't be more wrong. That is only useful for filing taxes, and there's no way you can run an e-commerce company on a cash basis. It has to be accrual. This video is going to go deep and explain to you exactly why that is. Then we'll set up your chart of accounts, and then we'll set up your products in QuickBooks Online. These are the two critical things. The chart of accounts, as I explained in the lesson, is the backbone of everything. Every transaction that you ever record is going to run through one or more places, probably two or more places, somewhere in the chart of accounts. And then, of course, your products, and this assumes that you're tracking inventory in QuickBooks Online, and we'll cover that later, but your products need to be set up in QuickBooks Online. Even if you're tracking your inventory outside of QuickBooks, you'll need something by way of a product in QuickBooks Online, because at some point that data has to sync up with QuickBooks so that you have an accurate balance sheet and profit and loss. Then by this point, we're going to show you how this all comes together. I talked about it in the mini course, how the sort of secret to all this, the way it all comes together is reconciling to zero, but here I actually demonstrate precisely what that looks like using examples with transactions in a QuickBooks Online company. Okay, then we're going to look at sales and sales channels, right? So first we're going to do a very thorough and deep overview of a multi-channel distribution system and what that really means and what that is. Then we're going to show you an accounting workflow, and we're going to show you a Shopify workflow. And we will probably add more sales channels to the course down the road as we go, but obviously these are the two most popular ones. And as I explain in these videos, if you understand the concept of how it works with these, you can pretty much adapt that to any other sales channel you're using. It's really just going to be a question of getting into that sales channel and understanding how to get the data, exactly the kind of data that I'll show you how to pull out of these two, so that you can ultimately figure out how to reconcile from the gross sale to the net amount that you've received in your bank account. And of course, in order to accomplish that reconciliation, you're going to have to understand the various payment methods in between. So we're going to look at PayPal, we're going to look at Stripe, we're going to look at Shopify and Amazon Pay, and then we're going to talk about all other payment methods. Plus, some of you, if you've had some exposure to this, may have encountered some of these purchase financing options like Afterpay, where the person shopping on your website or your Amazon store can actually make payments on a product that you sell. So companies like Afterpay step in, they finance the purchase, they pay you, they collect the money from your customer. And then, of course, we're going to get into the inventory management, inventory workflow and management. Obviously, this being e-commerce, it's so important. So we're going to give you an introduction to inventory. We're going to talk about how to manage inventory in QuickBooks Online. And then we're going to talk about how to handle inventory for a manufacturing situation where you have a bill of materials, you buy the raw materials, you put them together to create a finished product. I'll tell you right now, QuickBooks Online is not equipped to handle that, which means we'll need to look to other solutions to handle that. So here we'll overview what that really looks like in terms of the accounting, right, for a manufacturing situation. Then I'll give you a lesson on how to manage it with Airtable, and then, as I think I mentioned somewhere along the way here, we'll talk about Deer Systems, which is actually a very recent thing I've had a look at. It's been around for a long time, and I've seen it before, but I took another look recently, and I put my client Megan from SwiftPause into it, and so far we love it. And between the price and how sophisticated and robust this tool is, I am very, very excited to be able to offer this to you in this course as the tool for managing inventory if you need to do so outside of QuickBooks Online. It works beautifully. It will handle your manufacturing, it will handle kits, it handles everything you need to handle about your inventory. Then we'll look at the apps. Okay, after we've got the solid foundation built in the whole process from the sales to the inventory flow, then we can start talking about the apps, because it's only at this point that you really have the foundation you need to understand if you've set up the apps correctly or how to get them set up correctly. And the first lesson in this section I'm going to give you is on Webgility. Webgility was like one of the first tools out there that did what it does, which is grab sales out of a sales channel and push it into QuickBooks Online for you. And I used it years ago, then I kind of left it, and then I came back to it. And one of the reasons I came back to it and stayed with it this time around is that it handles the Amazon situation beautifully. What's tricky about Amazon, as you'll learn in the course, is that you have a biweekly settlement report. You need to be able to report your sales and related cost of goods sold in the right period. So when that settlement crosses over 2 different months, it needs to be accounted for correctly. We need the right sales in the right month. Well, Webgility will pull in the sales daily, and then it will give you a reconciliation. So at the end of the settlement period, you can put in that ending balance, which is that net deposit that ends up landing in your bank account, and it lets you reconcile all the orders during that biweekly settlement period to make sure that nothing's missed. And this is how you make sure that this stuff is bulletproof. In order for this to work, it has to be set up and mapped properly. And in order to know how to set up and map it properly, you need to understand the accounting workflow that I've already gone over with you up to this point, which is what I'm referring to as the e-commerce accounting workflow. So that's why we'll get into apps. And for now, Webgility is the only one I'm going to recommend, because from everything I've looked at, it handles everything you need it to handle. Whatever sales channel you're using, they can handle it. And by the way, they have an amazing onboarding process where somebody will work with you and pretty much set it up for you. All you'll have to do is get on a Zoom with them and tell them which sales channels you're setting up, and they'll do it with you. And then you have, like, I forget, a week or two where they'll provide you with ongoing support at no additional cost, just to make sure that you've got set up correctly. Okay. Then we'll look at ShipStation and we'll look at Square, right? These are two really important apps, especially ShipStation, as far as I'm concerned, is what you should be doing to handle the shipping. If you're not, unless you're just doing Amazon FBA, meaning they're handling the shipping for you. So if you're handling your own shipping on any sales channels, then as far as I'm concerned, you can't live without ShipStation. And Square we'll take a look at just because I know a lot of people have Square in the mix with their e-commerce accounting workflows, okay? Then we're going to do something, and this is one of the things I actually rearranged in the course. Originally, I had this earlier in the course, and I said, nope, let me get through the apps first. Because then what I want you to take away from this next section on how to import the transactions is, and I almost wanted to put it before the apps, because really what I want you to do is I want you to understand these workflows before you even connect a single app. Because what this is going to teach you to do, it's going to teach you the foundation and a deep and solid understanding of exactly how things need to flow and where, and how to map things properly, how to link things up, because you're going to go through your own mapping process as you import your Amazon sales and your Shopify sales, and of course your PayPal and Stripe payments, right? So once you go through this section and learn how to do each of these, and assuming you can follow along, which I'm sure you can, and get things mapped and pushed in correctly and accurately, then you're going to be so much better prepared to start using these e-commerce apps. The other time this stuff will really come in handy is if something goes wrong with one of these apps, right? And invariably it happens. The app will go down, whatever it is. I honestly haven't had a problem with Webgility, but I know when I originally used it years ago and many other apps that I've used, things go wrong, things crash, sites go down, right? And so if you have these skills here that you're going to get from these sections, it won't matter. If you need to push sales in, you'll have a process right here that you'll understand thoroughly for exactly how to get those transactions pushed into QuickBooks Online while you're waiting for the app or whatever issue you're experiencing to get fixed, okay? Then, of course, we have to have a talk about sales taxes, right? If you're selling products online, you're not getting out of sales taxes. And it's gotten worse, actually, over the years because of the Wayfair case. And that's an example right there of what I was referring to earlier when I told you about the community and how I'm going to have a channel for news and markets there, because if you're going to deal in e-commerce, then you need to know what's going on in terms of cases like Wayfair that have a very definite and significant impact on your e-commerce business. Okay, so because of Wayfair, you're having to collect sales taxes in a lot more states, even if you don't have a physical presence in that state. In any given state in this country, if you're selling more than a certain dollar volume, or more than a certain volume in terms of number of transactions, you will hit a trigger point where you have to collect and pay and file sales taxes in that state. So we're going to talk about that, and of course I've got some solutions for you along those lines in terms of how to manage it. Okay. Then we have a whole section on analysis. Now, e-commerce in particular, the analysis is important, and you can gather from the titles what we're talking about. We really need to be looking at certain ratios and ways of measuring profitability, analyzing the inventory to make sure the worst thing you can do as an e-commerce company is have something on back order. If I try to buy something from your Amazon store and you don't have it, I'm just going to get it from somebody else. I'm not going to wait. There's no loyalty there, right? So inventory management is really important. You have to understand which products you need to overstock on and which products you need to understock on, right? Because overstock on the wrong products, and that's costing you money. Understock on the wrong products, and that will cost you sales, which is costing you money, right? We're going to look at Nopat, which is net operating profit after taxes. This is an important metric that you'll want to look at as an e-commerce company. And then I'll show you how to build a forecast for an e-commerce business. And then we're going to talk about how to calculate marginal cost. It's another metric that's really important to understand about your products in your e-commerce company. And I've made the space here for additional resources. I am sure I'll have no shortage of them that I'll be adding to this appendix as time goes on. And the first one I'm including is a link to where you can study all the Shopify payment providers, and I have some thoughts and comments on that, of course. You may also be noticing, as I'm going through this, the status on the right. The ones that say not started mean just that. They will probably not be available right away if you're signing up for this course at the launch, but I will be rolling out new content every single week until every single lesson in here is produced and published, and there will probably be more that I add into the mix as I go, including ones that I'll take your suggestions on. If any of you come to me and say, hey, I would love to see a lesson that covers this, that door is open. You can absolutely ask me, and certainly if enough people are asking for the same thing, I promise you you, I will do it. My goal here is to make sure that you have everything you need to handle the accounting for an e-commerce business. So that is, in essence, the outline of the course as it stands as of this recording. Like I said, it's going to change, and by change, I mean it's only going to get bigger. Okay. Now, let's talk about what else you're getting when you sign up for this course at the launch. Okay. I promise you some bonuses. And what I wanted to do, because I'm really speaking specifically to the accountants and bookkeepers who want to serve e-commerce owners, what I did was I went through my existing course library and I said, what additional courses could I offer people that would help them really kind of round out the whole picture of being able to run an accounting or bookkeeping practice, serving e-commerce clients, and having all the tools you need in order to be able to do that more effectively and more efficiently and with great accuracy. Right? So I've got a list of courses, but before I even get into that, let's talk about the price. I'm usually supposed to save the price for last, but I always break the rules. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to offer you as part of this bonus offer is that the regular price of this course is set at $1,997, right? So $2,000. But with this launch, I'm going to knock $1,000 off of that. So everything I'm about to share with you, including this course itself and all the bonuses, you're going to get for just $997. Okay, so what are we including? Well, there's the community. And the reason I'm mentioning that is even though in the past I've included the community with the course permanently, I'm not going to do that here. I feel like there's an opportunity, frankly, for me to build a community, even including people who aren't necessarily in the course. Plus, this community in particular, they've all required a fair amount of my time, and I'm happy to give it. But I want to make sure that I can really pay the extra attention that I plan to pay to this one because for the reasons I've mentioned. You know, this is a huge topic, and it's only going to get bigger as time goes on. So after this launch period, I'm going to offer the community as an add-on for $37 a month. And that way, if you're new to the course and you feel like you need it in the beginning, you can do it, and then you can always cancel the subscription if you ever feel like you just don't need it anymore. But as I said, my plan is also to offer the community separately to anybody who just wants to be in the community so that you can ask questions, right? And so normally the community would be $37 a month. It will be included as part of this bonus launch offer. You won't have to pay anything extra for it, and that's lifetime access. So as long as you don't cancel or ask for a refund or anything, then you'll have lifetime access to the community. You'll never be charged the subscription. Now the courses. Okay, now these are all courses that come under the heading of what I call process and workflow design. The first one is called Reduce Channels and Increase Profits with Liscio. So many of you are probably familiar with Liscio if you're an accountant working in this field for a while. Liscio is the tool to help you communicate with your client, to gather documents, and also manage a lot of the correspondence, especially around the gathering of those documents. It is known for its super security, and it makes it super easy with its mobile app for you to be able to push notifications to your clients and remind them of the things you need. And it makes it really easy for the clients to respond and upload whatever documents you need them to get to you as quickly as possible. So I'm giving you that course. Another course I'm going to give you is called Nerd's Ocean of Notion. What I have found, and especially if you're managing something as robust as an e-commerce company, the Ocean of Notion is a tool you've already seen it. You're still looking at it on my screen. It's a tool that I use now to manage information, right? So you can use it as simply as for a digital notebook. What I've gone and done since I started with it is I've evolved my use for it into a full-fledged sort of dashboard for my whole life, actually. I have a dashboard for my business. I have a dashboard for my personal life. Pretty much before I go anywhere on the web, if I need something, I'm going into Notion first. There's probably a section for whatever it is I'm about to do, and there's probably bookmarks that I'll click on in Notion that'll take me right where I need to go on the web. It is a super powerful tool for getting everything in your life, including your accounting or bookkeeping practice, organized. And that's why I want to make sure that you have access to that resource. The next one can either overlap with that or be in addition to or instead of, is a course in ClickUp. So ClickUp is the out-of-the-box project management tool. It's best in class as far as managing your projects and tasks. So I'm going to give you that one. This way you can choose either Notion or ClickUp, or you might have use cases for both. There's a lot of people that will use ClickUp just to manage their projects and task management type things, and they will use Notion for all the notes and information that they need to keep track of. Okay. The next course, Run Your Accounting Practice with Google Workspace. So I even mentioned early in the course that when you're setting up your PayPal accounts, if you have multiple sales channels that each take PayPal as a payment method, I talked to you about if you're using Google Workspace, you can set up groups that act like emails, because you can only have one PayPal account for your business, but you can have up to 7 email addresses, right? So if you have 2 different sales channels that both take PayPal, you can use Google Workspace's groups to set up 2 different email addresses and add those into your PayPal account so that you can use those with the respective sales channels, so that when the payments come into PayPal, you can track very specifically which money came from which sales channel. And I cover that in the course. And so I'm giving you the Run Your Accounting Practice with Google Workspace course, which talks to you about groups and how to set that up, and everything else that you get with Google Workspace, which includes a plethora of apps and all kinds of other management tools that will help you manage your whole domain for your business or for your accounting practice. Okay. Next, a Google Sheets deep dive. So there's a lot of Excel in this course. I forgot to mention that. There is a ton of Excel in this course that you're going to learn, and you're going to love it. But I also want you to see the Google Sheets side of it. Recently, I did a course called Mastering Excel and Google Sheets, and a lot of the people gave me feedback that they were really glad that I showed everyone side by side. Here's how you do it in Excel, here's how you do it in Google Sheets, because quite frankly, there's a lot that Google Sheets can do, and there's a lot that it can offer on the collaborative side and just in terms of general efficiency, because you're running a spreadsheet in the cloud that's easy to access and easy to share with other people. So I'm giving you that course, a Google Sheets deep dive. That's not the recent course I did. It's one I did a while ago. But again, as the title suggests, it dives deep on Google Sheets specifically. Next, business valuation and analytics. So you saw in the outline I have a whole section on analysis. This takes the analysis to the next level. You're going to look at all kinds of ratios. You're going to get a deeper dive than I'm going to give you just in the course alone on how to do forecasts, although that one doesn't cover it specifically for e-commerce. But you're going to learn all the sort of ratios and tools and things that you need in order to analyze the accounting information from a business. So step 1 is we get the books bulletproof so that we have really reliable numbers. And then step 2, we use it in the analytics and the business valuation so that we can help our clients get really valuable information which they can use to make important decisions about their business. Okay? And then one last thing that we're including here, which is, as I've mentioned a few times, I'm going to give you 5 hours of live Q&A with me. So we're going to do an hour session, 5 sessions. We're going to start it in about a month from now because I want to give you a chance to go through the course and gather your questions. And as I pointed out, there's some additional content I'll need to roll out over the course of the next month. It shouldn't take more than that for me to get the rest of the course online and delivered. And then we'll start those sessions. So I'm going to give you 5 hours of live Q&A with me after you've had some time to review the material in the course and gather your questions. And so this way I can help you. It'll be on a group level, but pretty much going around the horn and helping you, one-on-one, because your questions are going to help other people and so on. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think you're going to get a ton of value out of these I'm avoiding using the word group coaching sessions. For some reason, I just hate that term, group coaching. But live Q&A calls, right? You'll get an opportunity to ask questions of me live, and I'll give you the answers you need. And, of course, those will all be recorded, and you'll get access to those recordings. So, my friends, just to quickly recap the bonuses, I'm starting with a $1,000 discount, okay? Then I'm giving you the community for lifetime without ever charging you the $37 a month subscription. Based on a year, that's a $450 savings, okay? And then all those courses I'm giving you which are valued at $197 each. You can go look it up on my site. That's what I charge for them, except for business valuation analytics. That's actually a $750 course. It's a thorough, thick, deep course with templates and all kinds of things that will help you really understand how to do the financial analysis, the technical analysis of a business. And then the 5 hours of live Q&A, I'm valuing at $4,000 as the value of 5 hours with me. I actually charge a lot more than that on a one-to-one basis. So, my friends, that is what's being offered with this course, and that brings us to an important decision. Okay. Now, just to recap again, this group of resources is going to give you the tools you need to manage your accounting and bookkeeping practice and manage all of your clients, as I said earlier, more effectively, more efficiently, and with greater accuracy. And there's one more thing, because I've mentioned this a couple of times. Many of you may already be in my original Bulletproof Bookkeeping with QuickBooks Online course, but many of you may not. So I'm not including it by default, and I wouldn't include it. It wouldn't be fair to the people who've paid good money for it. But what I am going to offer is, for those of you who don't have it yet and would like to get it, especially if you feel like you'll need that foundation to be better prepared for this course, which if you don't have a really solid foundation in the basics, then you will need something like that. What you'll notice as you're going through checkout is you'll see it's an upsell. So you'll see an opportunity to grab that course for 20% off of the regular price, which, like this course will be after the launch, is $1,997. So you get 20% off the $2,000 for the original Bulletproof Bookkeeping course, and then everything else that I told you about just now for $997. Okay, and there's one thing left to do, right? All you need to do is click the button underneath this video and sign up. Enter your credit card information, and you'll be off and running. You'll have immediate access to the course. Okay, what'll happen next is you'll get an email confirmation. I think probably a few of them. Please don't ignore these. There's going to be important instructions, especially for the community, for example. You're going to need the link that's going to be in one of those emails that gets you access to the course. Okay, there's going to be other important instructions. So I know how tempting it is to blow these emails off. I'm guilty of it myself. I do it all the time, but trust me, you're going to end up reaching out to me and asking me a question, and I'm going to refer you back to the emails so that I can, stay focused on things that I haven't already provided you with. Okay, so if you feel like this is right for you, just click the button below and we can get started right away. You can get into the course and start reviewing the lessons, and as I said, I'll be rolling out additional lessons very frequently until all of the course is completely online and published. Now, you and I both know that there's going to be a lot of interest in this course. Okay, as I've mentioned a few times, e-commerce is huge. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And as much as I'd love to help everyone, as I've mentioned a couple of times already, I can only take on 100 people. I feel like 100 people is even probably too much, but I'm willing to leave it open to the first 100 people who sign up so that you can get all the bonuses, but most importantly, for the live Q&A calls, right? Imagine if I have 100 people on a Zoom. Now, frankly, I'm counting on the fact that usually what happens is not everybody shows up, but I want to make sure that it's not too much, that I can't provide the individual attention that I'm going to want to provide while you're in the group when you have questions, right? I want to make sure I can get to everybody throughout the 5 hours and make sure I can get all of your questions answered. So it is important to me that I'm able to deliver on my promise and give each of the people who do sign up their due attention, in particular in those live Q&A calls. Like I said, those calls will start in about a month so that you have time to review the course and gather your questions before we get started. But once the timer above this video hits 0, all of this goes away. You can still get access to the course, but the bonuses and the Q&A and the discount on the course will all be gone. So don't procrastinate. Act now. Click that button below. There's 300 people on the early bird waitlist as of now, probably a little more. But there's also probably north of 10,000 people out there on all my social media channels, from YouTube to Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else, LinkedIn, that I know are interested in this course that may just not have gotten around yet to, clicking on that link to join the early bird waitlist. But I know once this goes out to the public, there's going to be a ton of interest. So I want to make sure that you can secure your spot before somebody else gets it. So make sure that you click the button below this video and get signed up right away.